at the bottom of your toolbar. Feel free to drop a question there, and we will have time at the very end to go over all questions and hopefully provide some answers. And before we dive into mini grants, I just want to go ahead and first read our first 5 mission statement. Thank you. The mission of First 5 Sonoma County is to maximize the healthy development of all Sonoma County children from the prenatal stage through age 5 through support, education, and advocacy. And then I'd also like to take some time to call out the First 5 commitment that is related to our mini grant program. So here it is. First 5 Sonoma County is committed to advancing a high-quality early childhood system where all children, especially those from low and middle income families and historically underserved communities, have access to safe, nurturing, and developmentally enriching care and learning environments. Thank you. We'll go ahead and go into our agenda. We have a pretty packed agenda today. These are the topics we'll cover. What are mini grants? Who can apply? Eligibility, priority considerations. We'll cover grant awards, what activities are eligible, discuss the funding and application schedule, and go into the evaluation process, cover very important tax information, do a live demo of the interest form, and then have time at the end for questions. We will also be sharing a poll to get a feel for who is joining us today. If you could please take a couple seconds just to fill that out, just so we know what types of providers are joining us tonight. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass it over to my colleague, Janine, to go over a little bit more about what are mini grants.
Okay, I would like to give you all just a couple of minutes to do the poll. So I'm going to wait about like 2 minutes and then we'll move on to the next section. Okay, so it seems like a majority of you all have gotten the opportunity to do the poll. So we just want to go over a mini grant. I'm sorry, we just want to go over the mini grants 2025-26 and what it is. So First 5 is offering mini grants ranging from 500 to 5,000 to support early care and education providers and improving the quality of care for children's ages 0 to 5 in Sonoma County. These mini grants are intended to fund learning materials, curriculum resources, supplies that foster an engaging, inclusive, and culturally responsive early learning environments. And, sorry. This opportunity is funded by Measure I, Sonoma County Childcare of Children's Health Initiative, and more information can be found on that on our website. Now, who can apply? Sorry, 1 second. Small and large licensed childcare facilities, licensed childcare centers, licensed exempt family, friends, and neighbors are eligible. And we are so happy to announce that this year, First 5 Sonoma County will also be offering mini grants to licensed exempt playgroup programs in Sonoma County. Okay, now we are going to go over the eligibility criteria. Sorry, I'm having a couple of technical difficulties here today. So licensed family childcare home eligibilities include, again, as stated, must be in Sonoma County. You must be willing to provide your childcare license and a completed W-9. You are currently serving at least 1 infant or toddler between the ages of 0 to 36 months, and the majority or over 50% of the children currently enrolled in your program are between the ages 0 to 5. For licensed childcare centers, Center directors, site supervisors, or program administrators can apply on behalf of licensed centers. To be eligible, you must be located in Sonoma County. The majority of children currently enrolled are ages 0 to 5, and or 50% of those children. You can provide, and you can also provide a valid childcare license and a completed W-9. Each site must provide their own interest form, and that can be completed by one designated individual. Okay, for license exempt family, friend, and neighbor provider eligibility, they must also be located in Sonoma County, currently providing care for at least one child ages 0 to 5. A child who, sorry, who is not, a child who is not yours, for 8 or more hours per week. This can be a child relative and or form of another family. You must plan to continue providing care for at least one child who is not your child through June 2026 and must be able to provide and verify information about the care agreement. For example, a note or communication from the parent slash guardian slash and or guardian, and have not received a mini grant since January 2023. For license accept playgroup program eligibility, an agent and or an agency or organization that oversees a license exempt playgroup may present one application on behalf of the agency if the playgroup program meets all the following requirements: is located in Sonoma County, exclusively serving children 0 to 5, is free or low cost to participating families, it's held on a regular schedule, example given, weekly sessions, and incorporates one or more of the following components: family literacy, parent and child interactive learning, such as music, movement, and story time, parent education and leadership development, and is culturally and linguistically relevant programming. This category is intended for community-based organizations, nonprofits, and or school districts that manage or host licensed exempt playgroups.
Thank you, Yanine. We're going to go ahead and move into priority considerations. And we do expect to receive more applications than we're able to fund. And so priority considerations will ensure that we can distribute the funds equitably to all applicants. So first, we'll go into licensed child care home priority considerations. And so priority will be given to providers who have not received a mini grant from First 5 Sonoma County since January 2023. They provide care and instructions in a language other than English. They are located in a qualified census tract. They serve at least 50% of subsidized children. They serve at least 50% of dual language learners. They care for a child with a disability. Care for children in foster or kinship care or children that are experiencing housing instability, serves 75% or more infants and toddlers, were newly licensed on or after January 2024 and are renting or leasing their childcare space.
I just want to pause really quickly and make sure I get to share with the folks that are here today that if you were hoping to get this information in Spanish, that webinar is scheduled for tomorrow. And I'm just going to repeat myself in Spanish because we don't have interpretation for tonight since this is the English webinar. Si está aquí esperando la información en español, ese seminario se va a ofrecer mañana y pueden reunirse a la reunión que tendremos mañana, que es el miércoles 2 de julio. And I'll go ahead and pass it back to Sarai. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. This is our priority consideration for licensed child care centers. have not received a mini grant since January 2023, provide care and instruction for children in a language other than English, located in a qualified census tract, serve at least 50% of subsidized children and children who are dual language learners, care for a child with a disability, care for a child in foster or kinship care or experiencing housing instability, operate an infant or toddler program for children 0 to 36 months, and were newly licensed on or after January 2024. This is our priority eligibility for our license exempt family, friend, and neighbor providers. So priority will be given to those who provide care in a language other than English, are located in a qualified census tract, provide care for at least one infant or toddler, offer care at no cost or at a subsidized rate to families, and a provider who has attended an early childhood education professional development activity in the past year. And then here is our priority considerations for the license exempt playgroups. So priority will be given to those that offer bilingual or multilingual programming, serve families in a qualified census tract, engage families with infant and toddlers, and incorporate family leadership or parent engagement as a core component of their program. Here is a breakdown of our grant awards by provider type. First, Sonoma County understands that each type of childcare provider has different needs and capacities. So in order to support a fair and balanced distribution of funds, a portion of the $450,000 budget is set aside for each provider type in this grant cycle. And next, I'll go ahead and move us into the eligibility activities, the eligible activities and project areas for mini grants. So what can the mini grants pay for? Mini grants are intended to improve the learning environment and support the healthy development of children ages 0 to 5. We will be sharing some activity areas, project areas where providers can choose up to 2 of them in order to really focus on strengthening those areas in their classroom. However, if you do need items for more than 2 areas, please just give us a small explanation of why when you fill out your interest form. And then here's a small breakdown of what each item must be in order to be eligible to purchase. Basically, we're looking for items that can be used and are developmentally appropriate for children ages 0 to 5. You can note here that there is a criteria that the cost must be $25 or more per item. This is to ensure high quality materials. However, if you are buying books or dolls, that each individual item might not equal $25, but if you buy things in a bundle or a kit and that total price does come up to be $25 or more, then that is appropriate as well. And we will go ahead and go into the approved vendor list in a little bit more detail in a few slides that follow, but here they are listed for you as well. And here are the eligible project areas. So in order to support meaningful improvements in these learning areas, we do encourage all our applicants to please focus on up to 2 of these project areas. Just to go ahead and really concentrate and focus to allow for a deeper investment and support for the children's early learning experiences. They're all listed out here, but in the following slides, we will go into more detail about each and give a few examples as well. So the first area is indoor furnishings for universal design and learning, or UDL. This is intended to create indoor spaces that are welcoming, accessible, and developmentally appropriate for all children. Some examples include low and open shelving, baskets for storing materials and easy access, flexible seating, and child-sized furniture. The next category or area is outdoor play and gross motor play. Um, this is to support outdoor spaces that promote physical development, creativity, and sensory exploration. There's an emphasis on safe and engaging environments that promote movement and promote movement and nature-based learning. A few examples of these are outdoor sensory tables, balls and bikes, planter boxes and gardening tools, or stepping stones and balance beams. Next, we have science, technology, engineering, art, and math, also known as STEAM. So the intent for this is to support learning in all the components of STEAM through hands-on materials and spaces that encourage imagination, role-playing, and open-ended exploration. Some examples of these include balls and ramps, loose part materials, counters and sorting materials, blocks, and STEAM kits that have just different materials that can help children investigate a certain area a little bit deeper. Next, we have the creative arts and dramatic play. This intent is to support open-ended creative expression and imaginative role-playing that reflects children's cultures, interests, and family life. A few examples of eligible items include diverse multicultural dolls, puppets, dress-up clothes, and stations, and any furniture or props that can be used in a dramatic play area. The next category is language and literacy, and this intends to promote early language skills and a print-rich environment through books, music, and interactive storytelling in a child's home language. Few of these examples include multilingual and multicultural books, felt stories, musical instruments, cozy reading areas, and letter and sound exploration boxes. Next, we have our infant and toddler environment. This intent is to enhance caregiving spaces specifically for children aged 0 to 36 months. The focus is on developmentally appropriate, safe, sensory stimulating, and responsive caregiving supports. A few of these examples include tummy time mats, soft climbers, developmentally appropriate toys, a changing table, sleeping cots, and child-sized furniture. Our next area is inclusion and accessibility supports. So this intent is to ensure children with disabilities or diverse learning needs are fully included and supported in the early learning environment. Some of these examples include noise muting headphones, flexible seating options, adaptive supports, weighted plushes, sensory materials, and visual schedules. Um, and then our last category is health, safety, and emergency preparedness. This is to ensure environments meet high standards for physical safety, cleanliness, and emergency readiness. Um, these items should contribute to children's well-being and the program's ability to respond to emergencies. A few of these examples include air purifiers, fire extinguishers, first aid kits and emergency supplies, cabinet locks, and multi-seat strollers. Now we'll just go over a little bit about which items are ineligible to be purchased with mini grant funding. So that includes items that are not intended for children 0 to 5, staff only items such as chairs, laptops, consumables, diapers, snacks, paper towels, any operational costs such as rent or payroll. Gift cards are items that are for personal use, and items not from an approved vendor or purchased before an approval will also not be eligible for mini grants, excuse me. And here's just a continuation of some of those items: adult furniture, gift cards, electronic devices, snacks, or diapers. And I'll go ahead and pass it over to Janine to go over the vendor guide.
My apologies. Can you all hear me now? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the vendor guidelines. So all the requested items must be developmentally appropriate and used directly by or for children ages 0 to 5, be durable and high quality, lasting a minimum of 2 years. And we suggest that you all include warranties on those purchases. Items being purchased must be from the list of approved vendors, and individual items should be generally cost $25 or more unless included as part of a bundle. Okay, again, here is the list of approved vendors, which is oh, somebody is writing on the screen. Community playthings, Lakeshore Learnings, Discount School Supplies, Constructive Playthings, and K-Plow Early Learnings. We have also included some additional vendors for the areas of, sorry, Sarai, do you have those?
Yes. Yes, it's for the health and safety. We've included the vendors of Costco, Lowe's, Home Depot, and just other of those stores where you could purchase items like that. My apologies that I did not include it on that slide. I will go ahead and make sure it's updated to show you. I will drop those other approved vendors in the chat in just a second after we cover our application and funding schedule for the mini grants. So we are currently in our pre-application period, which is going to run from July 1st through July 13th. Our interest and eligibility forms went live today. We will be going through a demonstration and sharing the link for everyone to be able to submit their interest forms. And we just want to highlight here that interest and eligibility forms must be submitted by Sunday, July 13th to be considered for you to receive an invitation to complete a full application. Thank you, Yenny, for dropping that in the chat. And this is just talking about what needs to be turned in for this application process. So the first thing is to complete a pre-application interest and eligibility form through the First 5 Sonoma County website, which again, we will be showing a demonstration and sharing that hyperlink with you all a little bit later in this webinar. After that, some of those people who submitted an eligibility form will be invited to complete a full application. If you are invited to complete a full application, you will then need to submit a full project proposal, including your shopping cart of items to be purchased, which includes shipping and tax, your proof of childcare license, if this is applicable to your provider type, a complete W-9 form, a budget plan, and the care agreement for any FFN providers. Please note that if these items are missing, we will not be able to consider your application. We are going to now move into discuss the selection process. We just want to make sure First 5 Sonoma County wants to ensure that the selection process is done in an equitable and fair manner, and it's our intentions to grant funds amongst all the various early childhood educators in our county. So first, our interest and eligibility forms will be reviewed by our evaluation team. But I also want to note that we do anticipate that we'll receive more interest and eligibility forms than we are able to fund. And that is why only some people will be invited to submit a full application. Once that is reviewed based on our priority considerations, we will then notify applicants that are eligible to complete a full application by July 28th. And then this is just a breakdown of the funding schedule. So July 1st, the mini grant peer application, the interest and eligibility form opens. July 13th, the interest and eligibility forms are due. On July 28th, the full applications will be due, and this is by an invitation only basis. On August 15th, on July 28th, the application opens, and on August 15th, the full application will be due. By August 26th, applicants will be notified of funding decisions, and through the months of October and November, the grant funds will be distributed to the selected applicants. And then I will pass it over to Janine to go over evaluation and reporting.
Okay, let's dive into evaluation and reporting. If you are awarded a grant, you'll be requested to complete, you will be required to complete a purchase plan and budget prior to receiving funding. Once the purchases have been successfully completed, you will be requested to provide a few sentences about the items that were purchased and how they have a few sentences about how a few sentences about the purchased items and how it has impacted and enhanced your childcare, photos of the items in your environment, and we would greatly appreciate some candid pictures of the children using these items, but it is not necessary or required. And then we will also be requesting receipts of the purchased items. Okay, and now these are some important tax information that first I would like you to know. This funding is considered miscellaneous income and must be reported when filing your taxes. Therefore, you will be receiving a 1099 tax form if you are selected for funding, and the grant exceeds 600 in a calendar year, and therefore we must ask you to submit a W-9 form. Okay, and I'm going to pass it on over to Leslie to do a demonstration.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and dive into the interest and eligibility form. So we're very excited that the form is now available on our website, and I'm going to navigate to our website to be able to show you all how to get there in case you end up exiting the webinar, or after today you're thinking, wait, how can I go back? We'll also put it in the chat, but just want to make sure you all know exactly how to navigate to this web page. So first, what you will do, I'm going to start by going to first5sonomacounty.org, and I just want to confirm that you can all still see my screen. And then you will go to About, and then you will toggle down to Funding Opportunities, and then this will be the landing page for our mini grant funding opportunity. All of the information that we have shared in this webinar is available on this webpage. And based on the provider type that you are, there are additional details here that correspond to whether you're eligible and what types of priority considerations are being taken into account. So you can have all this information here again to reference and read through. The full vendor and item guide is here. So is the schedule. And when you keep scrolling through, you will see here at the very bottom how to apply, and you can click here to start. So I'm just going to copy this link and put it in the chat in case anyone wants to follow along, because we hope that it is as user-friendly and accessible as possible, but we still want to make sure that we are going over it with you all. So you click here to start. This is already going to pre-populate some of my information because I've been testing it and making sure it works for you all. So I'm going to go back here to the first prompt that you will see. there's a little bar at the top that has the percentage of how far along you are into the form. And the very first option that you have here is to select your language. This also is designed to be able to be done from a smartphone. So if you're using an iPhone or a Samsung, whatever other smartphone there is, you should be able to complete this form without any issues, and it will appear to a way that's best fit for your smartphone. So for today, I'm going to continue here with English. And I do see a question if the form will be saved if you exit. I don't believe it will. So you do need to finish it, but it is a fairly short form. So it is important that you try to finish it in one sitting if you can, because I cannot confirm actually if it saves your information or not. So here you will see again a link that circles back to our funding opportunities. And again, just want to highlight here that the deadline is July 13th. So I was starting to fill this out, so some of my info is in here, but I can't guarantee that that would be the case for you. So here's my name, my last name, my email address, my phone number, and we have also, I'm just going to put our previous address because I'm still learning our new one. So you put your street, your city, your zip code. If you have a childcare license number, we ask that you put that number here. For today, I'm just going to put several zeros. And then there will be some demographic questions. You can select the options that apply to you. And then you can also have the option of preferring to not answer. And I'm just going to answer for myself. You can also answer how old you are. And for fun, I'm going to pretend that I am 21. So I'm going to put 21. And then you can pick your current gender identity. So I'm going to put that I am a woman. And then it asks about your individual income from the previous year before taxes. And so I am just going to put a random number here. And the next one asks about what type of category of a provider you are. So I do want you to know that because there are different eligibility and priority considerations depending on your provider type, that different questions will come up for you. And so from the poll, there were a lot of licensed family childcare homes that were joining us today. So I'm going to answer as if I am a large family childcare home for demonstration purposes. You can identify whether you have a small or a large license, but you can also see which of these is the category that best represents your program. And then there's a question about whether you rent or own the space where your care is provided. And then whether your program is located in Sonoma County. If you have a valid and active childcare license, this is a requirement. So it is important that that is true. If not, you will not be eligible for this grant opportunity. It is here confirming if awarded funding, can you provide a completed W-9 form? And I understand that that is taxable income, so I'm going to answer yes. And this here asks if I currently serve at least one infant or toddler. And is the majority over half or 50% of children enrolled in my program between the ages of 0 to 5. So I am pretending that in my program that all of the children that I serve are between 0 to 5. So then my answer is yes, because all is 100%. So that is the majority. In your case, you know, if you have 8 children, half of that is 4. And if you have 10, half of that is 5. So that's how you want to think about if at least half of the children are in the ages of 0 to 5. The next question here is, have you received a mini grant from First Five Sonoma County since January 2023? We have offered these programs in the past. And so whether you have received one in the past, you can still submit an interest form, but we are giving priority to those that have never received a mini grant. So, and if you don't remember, mini grants have been offered, from my understanding, for well over 15 years. So it's possible that you received one a long time ago. Maybe you can't remember. There's lots of others, so you can always select I am not sure. But I am putting that I have not received one because for this purpose, I'm going to put that I have not. Okay. I do want you to know that at this point, I was able to move on in the application. There may be questions that, if you recall, Yanine and Sanae shared about eligibility, and I'm going to just toggle back to the website really quickly. And so if at any point you don't meet any of these eligibility criteria, there are questions to help you assess that. And this form will automatically let you know that you are not eligible to apply at this time. If for whatever reason you get that message and you feel that that was incorrect, or you have a question around why it is that you are ineligible, we'll share with you some contact information at the end, and ways that you can reach out to us so we can help to answer and clarify those questions for you. The next question here is around what language you provide care and instruction, and you can select all that apply. In my pretend program here, I'm going to say that I use English and Spanish, and that means that I am actively providing care and interacting, speaking with the children in both of these languages. And then there's a question about your preferred language to communicate with First Five Sonoma program staff. So we have bilingual in English and Spanish staff. There are sometimes situations when a family member is helping to fill out forms. So if that is applicable to you today, and maybe your daughter or your son or your childcare staff is supporting you with filling this out, but your personal preferred language to communicate with us is in Spanish. You want to make sure to select the language that we can give you a phone call in that would best be the best way to communicate with you. So for me, I'm going to put that it's English for this purpose, but this is what this question means. If you're filling the application out, or excuse me, the interest form out in English, but you prefer Spanish, please make sure you select that. The next question here, and as you can see, we're already halfway through, and the questions have been fairly simple. Do you currently care for children who are in foster or kinship care or facing housing instability? I am going to put no for this purpose, but this could be if you have, a child in your program who maybe is under kinship care, meaning that they live with their grandmother or they live with their auntie. That would be considered kinship care, and that's the primary guardian. Or you are working with a program that is supporting anyone in foster care, or anyone that you know, maybe the family that you've been working with, you know that they are experiencing instability in their housing situation, and maybe they are currently unhoused, so then you would select yes here. Do you currently care for children who have a disability or exceptional need? And this means that you are caring for a child in your program who has on file with you an IFSP or an IEP. And if you are not familiar with those terms, I just want to make sure to highlight for you all that there is a mini grant program glossary here. So I'm just going to pull that up to show you in real time what that looks like. And this may be a little small, especially if you're on a cell phone, so I do apologize, but a child with disabilities is someone who has been identified as having a developmental delay or disability and has an active individualized family service plan or individualized education program. And I know you all are the childcare experts, so you know this, but I just want to make sure that I am sharing this in case there's anyone who's not familiar with that terminology. For me, I'm going to put no in this example. And then here it asks approximately how many children between the ages of 0 to 5 are currently enrolled in my program, and I'm just going to put 8. This number that you put here is important because the rest of the questions do need to match up with the fact that you are serving 8 children. So please make sure you're entering the correct current number of children enrolled. Now here it says of the 8 children, it auto-populates the number of children that are in the program. Of the 8 children you serve, how many receive subsidized childcare? This would be an alternative payment voucher or subsidy. This may be someone who is working if you have a contract with any of the programs like Four Cs, River to Coast, Children's Services, or Children and Family Circle, Sonoma Works, etc. And I do see a question about do your own kids count in that number, and what if the IEP is your own child? I am going to ask that my team here help us make a note of that question because I want to make sure I answer it correctly. So we want to get back to you on that because I know that there is some technicalities around counting your own children towards your licensing total, and it's escaping me at this moment, that detail. So we will get back to you about those questions. So of the 8 children you serve, how many receive subsidies? In my example, I'm going to say that 4 of my 8 children are receiving a subsidy through one of those programs that I mentioned. But if that is none for you, you will put 0. Of the 8 children you serve, how many are infants or toddlers? There's ratios that you need to follow, right? So you will know how many of these you're supposed to have in your care based off of your ratio. If you are a licensed provider, I'm just going to put 2 here. And of the 8 children you serve, how many are dual language learners? These are children who speak a language other than English at home, and I'm going to put that all of them are dual language learners. Do you provide care for families who do not qualify for state or federal subsidies but report challenges affording care? Yes, no, or not sure. So sometimes families are coming to you and letting you know that they're having challenges with paying for their child care fees. So you will know this based off of the children that you serve if you're in a licensed facility. I'm going to put no for this purposes. When was your childcare license issued? If you're a family friend and neighbor or license exempt, when did you begin caring for children? So I'm going to put here after January 2024. And then this question here is around whether you currently participate in any of the following quality improvement activities. Select all that apply. These are just some ongoing professional development programs that exist, and this is more so just to collect some information around who we are reaching here. So I am going to put here that I have done teaching pyramid and that I have done, I also have a quality counts coach. If there's other, you can hit other and select. And then here, there's also some other options. And I do see Jerry, I think this is Jerry Layton. Thank you for providing the answer to the question in the chat there. I'll just go ahead and read this. Providers own children under a certain age, usually 10, are included in the child to staff ratio for licensing purposes in both small and large family childcare homes. So that answers Maricruz's question. And Martha, if that child is part of your ratio who has an IEP, then I would say that that answer is also the same for you. Okay, we're almost at the end here. And so many grants here it says are intended to help you make improvements that support children's learning and development. Below is a list of the focus areas you may want to improve in your program and examples of materials. Please select up to 2 project focus areas that your grant would focus on. So we do want you to really think about what it is that you are hoping to enhance in your childcare. We know that there are certain areas that you may feel like you really want to spruce up and or things that you feel like you've had materials that are really maybe worn out and that you would like to be able to bring in new things to help in that area. And so you're going to select the two that you want to do. For example, maybe you've really been wanting to work on developing your STEAM area and having an area where there's lots of different materials and supplies for science experiments and math activities. So maybe that's an area that's important to you. Or maybe some of the language and literacy materials that you have you really want to bring in, or maybe you just don't have a lot to start with right now, and so you really want to create your little library and have the furniture that goes with that, and bring in some books and puppets. So again, these are just examples. So I'm going to select those two for this purpose. There's also these others, and then I want to bring your attention back up here to the website again, and you can download the full item and vendor guide. And there will be a lot more examples around each of the areas in case you're feeling a little confused around what your project would be considered. Okay, let's go back to the application. And now we're almost towards the end here. We just want to hear about your project idea. What would you like to use the grant for? What items do you want to buy? And how will they help improve care and learning for the children and families you care for? How do these items support the focus areas you picked in the last question? So I got to go back up here and see, okay, I picked STEAM and language literacy. So that means that what I want to buy falls under those two categories or areas. And then here we just want you to write a short paragraph or use some bullet points, whatever is easiest for you. We're not going to score this based on writing by any means. We just want to get a sense of what you're thinking about purchasing. And we want you to know that based off of your provider type, you are eligible for the full amount here. And I am just noticing that the playgroup amount is missing, so we're going to make sure to update that the application. So for myself, I think I put that I was a large licensed family childcare, so that means I have 2,500 that I can apply for. So we want you to think of that full amount and what that full amount can purchase for you that falls within these two areas that you selected. And you're just going to type out, you can put a list of items, you can explain your explanation of how this will support your care, and maybe some other reasons. Maybe you want to say that this is an area that you really want to expand on and you haven't had the funding to do that before, etc., etc. And then you're going to go to the next. There's some acknowledgments. I attest that the information provided in this application is true and accurate to the best of my knowledge. I understand that this submission is to determine my eligibility and priority for funding and does not guarantee an invitation to complete the application. This is the first part. Then we will make those determinations and invite folks to the full application. I understand that if selected, I may be asked to submit additional documentation according to my provider type, including but not limited to proof of income, license or care arrangement to verify eligibility for the mini grant. I understand that the mini grant award is considered miscellaneous income, non-employee income, and must be reported when filing my income taxes. And I agreed to receive future updates or funding opportunities from First Five Sonoma County. And then here you get to put your signature. And then you would click to the next. I'm not going to because I don't want the submission to get recorded, but that is the extent of the application. So we hope that is fairly straightforward. It's asking you again about demographics. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for a moment so I can get back to our presentation. And let's see here. Okay. So We're back here. That is, again, the demo. And now we're going to talk to you about some technical assistance hours should you need some extra support.
So the first 5 staff will be offering technical assistance on a drop-in schedule. So we will set aside time on Tuesday, July 8th and Wednesday, July 9th from 4 to 6 p.m. if any of you would like to stop by a Zoom room and ask for any help and support. Here we have the Zoom link noted, and I can go ahead and drop that in the chat for you all. And so during the designated time, if you click that Zoom link, you'll go ahead and join our Zoom. And then there we can go over any questions that you might have and offer any additional support that might be needed. And then we'll go ahead and move until the end. We have a couple of minutes just for any questions. I do want to call out, there was a question in the chat. From Maricruz. She says, I was licensed in December 2023, but expanded to large in January 2024. How do I answer that question in regards to when they were licensed?
Thank you. I can go ahead and answer that. So we are going based off of your current license, and since I am assuming you would be applying as a large licensed family childcare home, you would want to answer according to when you received the large license. Maricruz, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And feel free to put questions in the chat. You know what I'm going to do also is I'm going to stop sharing so we can see each other and see if there's anyone that wants to come off mute or turn your camera on should you have any other specific questions.
So I have a question. So you say if people are very like was applying for mini grant like a couple years ago, it's less chance that you're gonna did you get picked again to get a mini grant or not?
There is a chance, yes. So I do want to mention again, I think this was mentioned earlier, this mini grant opportunity is being funded by Measure I. And so we do have a much larger investment towards mini grants than we ever have had before. And so again, it is still possible that we may not have enough funding for every person who is interested. And in that case, we would give priority to anyone who has never received a mini grant. But if enough interest allows for us to fund folks without having to make that determination, we would be able to include folks who have received one in the past. So it's just a matter of priority based off of how much interest we get. But there is a...
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Leslie, I have a question.
Hi, Nita.
Hi, how are you? So, I have a vague memory of, getting something like $250 worth of a grant. Would that be considered a mini grant, or that was one of a thing that you guys once offered?
That's a great question. It's possible that anything that was less than $1,000 from us was a different program. So you can always select not sure. And if you have other questions for us, we can help you figure it out. But it's likely that it may have been maybe something for a quality improvement grant that you got, or like funds for maybe a goal that you were working on with the coach for your site. So there are different funding opportunities that have come. So unless you specifically remember it being a mini grant, I would put not sure.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Azucena?
Okay, so my question is that can we add another activity just or we just allow to put two?
Yes, you our preference is that you focus on two. If you do end up selecting more, there are some instructions there around explaining to us, what is happening in your care and what are your needs. But we are hoping that folks really try to focus in two areas.
Okay, thank you.
There is a question in the chat. It said, did I see that you are asking for personal demo info for the person completing the application? Can you comment on that?
Yes, we are asking for personal demographics, and this is because we are mandated to do reporting on how our funding is being invested into the community. And so we have questions to gather that information. And that would only be reported to First Five California, for example, or back to our Measure I Community Advisory Council. We want to show the impact of the funding. But no personal identifiable information will be shared. It would maybe be around like, um, um, we could say something across the lines of 500, not 500 because we don't have that much, but maybe like $200,000 went towards serving centers, and these were the demographics of the folks that received application or funding from us. So that is the extent. It's more for reporting and for us to be able to see who our funds are reaching. Madeline, does that answer your question? Perfect, thank you. All right, I see that we only have a few minutes left, but we are happy to stay on for maybe like 3 to 4 more minutes in case there are any last questions. But if not, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Or is there another slide that we need to show here, Sarai? Yes.
The thank you slide with our contact information.
Perfect. Let me go ahead and share that again really quickly. And that is where we will wrap up. Sarai, you can go ahead and say any final pieces on this.
Yes. So thank you all again for attending and taking the time out of your day to come learn more about the mini grants. Here we do have our contact information. I just wanted to like share the caveat that if you do call or send us an email, we will get back to you as soon as you can. We're not always able to answer our phones at the moment, but please leave a message and we will, like I said, get back to you as soon as we can. And then I want to invite Janine if there's anything that you want to share about this.
Yes, like Sarai mentioned, sometimes when you give us a call, we may not be able to answer at the moment, but we will give you a call back as soon as we can. Just for myself, I do prefer email and or text. Our phone numbers are also textable if you all prefer that method of communication. Thank you.